Give the call to the member for Reid.
Thanks, Mr Speaker. My question is to our Prime Minister. Australia has the best records on the COVID-19 pandemic of any other advanced nation, with amongst the lowest mortality rates, the strongest economy and the highest vaccination rates. Will our Prime Minister outline to the House how the Morrison government is continuing to keep Australians safe through the pandemic and secure our economic recovery, including the actions to address emerging COVID variants?
The Prime Minister has the call.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for Reid for her question and the leadership she has shown in ensuring that the government's policies in response to the pandemic have been addressing the critical issue of mental health. We know that as a result of this pandemic, the immediate impacts have certainly been there, both physical and economic, Mr Speaker, but there will be a tail. There will be a tail of impacts on Australians' mental health as a result of this pandemic that Australia has stood out in addressing amongst the nations of the world. And I thank the member for her contribution to that in her professional capacity, but as a member of this House. Mr Speaker, throughout the pandemic, our government has always taken an evidence-based, expert, informed and led response to save lives and livelihoods. We've always understood that we needed to get the balance between those, and that is what we have achieved. We have kept our heads, Mr Speaker. We have taken sensible, balanced, effective and cooperative action in our response to this pandemic, and the results, with the great support, endurance and strength of the Australian people, have been world-leading. The lowest fatality rates in the world from COVID, saving more than 30,000 lives in this country as a result of our combined efforts. One of the strongest advanced economies in the world to push through this pandemic, retaining our AAA credit rating, and in the last 5 weeks the Treasurer advised 350,000 jobs coming back after the lockdowns have ended, and we'll see that flow through into our economic figures in the months ahead. Mr Speaker, we have one of the highest vaccination rates in the world now, at 87% double-dosed, and in Western Australia and Queensland they're fast approaching that all-important 80% mark. Mr Speaker, we have confronted many challenges and overcome them, and the national plan we brought together and brought the states and territories together, Mr Speaker, that national plan is seeing Australia open safely so we can remain safely open. And the work that Australians have done has put us in a position now as we confront these new variants, and there's been 13 and we'll deal with this one. But, Mr Speaker, the work that has been done by Australians means now is not the time for turning back in terms of moving forward in our response to this virus. Mr Speaker, we have taken the sensible precaution for a 2-week pause on the next steps that we had, and we will examine the evidence and the advice that comes through, and we welcome that advice and we have acted on that advice. Our response to Omicron, Mr Speaker, is sensible and balanced, and it's formed and it's calm, and we seek to maintain the momentum into Christmas so that we can continue to open up as Australians have worked hard to have those freedoms, Mr Speaker, so the government can over time continue to step back so Australians and the businesses they run can step forward. Premiers are meeting this afternoon. The flights have been suspended for this period of time, and we've reinforced, Mr Speaker, the strength of the PCR testing regime and giving that the enforcement capability.